the news comes first. You're watching News Channel 2, live at 5 News Hour.
Tonight at 5, obliterated. The entire 7th floor of a Rome apartment building that largely serves seniors is destroyed, some rescued from beneath debris. Also tonight, the governor sees the destruction firsthand and talks financial recovery in Rome, plus National Grid working to turn the lights back on.
Some of the worst we've seen in an urban environment.
Hundreds of contractors are coming in to restore the city's electricity.
The news with Kristen Copeland.
Oneida County is still in a state of emergency because of the tornado devastation, and there is a curfew in Rome. You must be inside by 8:30 p.m. The city looks like a war zone. The National Weather Service has investigated and in the last hour is calling this tornado an EF2 with 135 mile per hour winds. It's going to be a long recovery. Roofs peeled off houses, trees ripped from the ground, cars, trucks, an RV turned upside down. South Rome facing some of the worst wind damage. We went there today. This is video from Henry Street, where cleanup is far from over. Massive trees collapsed on houses, roots uplifted. Gas lines coming from the ground, ripped out of the ground. Residents in this area are still without power. They're shaken up about this event they thought they would never experience in their lifetime.
Girlfriend, she called me and she kind of just sensed that something was happening. She grabbed the baby and she got downstairs, and then that's when the trees started going and falling, and she heard the power lines get hit, and yeah, she just went, just holding the baby and just trying to stay by somewhere secure. Work was able to go and let me go and come down, and I sprinted home, drove down here, and there were just a bunch of commotion, trees down. You can smell the gas.
We're going to continue to hear survivor stories throughout this broadcast, including News Channel 2 at 6. One of the most shocking storm damage images out of Rome was a chunk of Georgian Arms apartments missing from the 7th floor, which collapsed. It's becoming devastating. And when you consider all of the elderly and disabled tenants who live there, News Channel 2's Jolene Ferris spoke with a tenant and management.
It's really surreal to drive around Rome and see the kind of damage you would normally see depicted on your TV screen somewhere in the Midwest. The tornado was brief, but it's going to take a long time to recover from it. Rudy Beeman is probably alive today because he wasn't home yesterday.
And a piece of roof from the welfare department building came through there and into my apartment. And all my whole living room is destroyed, and everything I had in there.
Rudy lives here at Georgian Arms Apartments in Rome, the building with the huge chunk missing from the 7th floor, likely damage from a tornado that decimated Rome on Tuesday.
The 7th floor had basically caved in. It had a implosion from a neighboring, I think, an HVAC projectile that caved in the whole 7th floor of the apartments.
Randy Denton could not believe the scene unfolding before his eyes.
We had some residents that were currently at home at the time that we were able to evacuate. They were under a pile of rubble, but thankfully nobody was hurt. I know I was born and raised here, and I would never have expected to see something like this in our lifetime.
Liberty Affordable Housing put Georgian Arms tenants up in area hotels. They don't know for how long.
So weeks, maybe more months.
Hard to say, yeah.
Jolene Ferris, News Channel 2.
Governor Hochul toured the damage in Rome today. Local elected leaders, many of them Romans, walked beside her along the streets they grew up. Streets now littered with tree branches and parts of buildings. The governor says she's deployed 50 National Guard members to Rome. She was stunned by the level of devastation and promised the state's help in recovery.
This is the worst event to ever hit the city of Rome in its long 228-year history. And what's really important for those who are trying to figure out how to manage the whole idea of getting insurance coverage for their properties and their homes. The Department of Financial Services is deploying their disaster strike team, and they'll literally set up a trailer people can walk up to. I've seen it many times, that they can get assistance on how to file their claims. So we'll be there for them as well.
We'll keep you updated on that. The governor will also push for federal FEMA aid, but the municipal damage has to reach $37 million for that money to flow. U.S. Senator Chuck Schumer says he and Senator Kirsten Gillibrand are already calling on FEMA to quickly approve a disaster declaration if it's requested. The city of Rome is thanking nearby communities for support, and a lot of people are asking what they can do to help. If you are able to donate goods or your time, email volunteer@romecitygov.com. City officials say needs are still being assessed, but they will get back to you. If you live in an area with storm damage and need non-emergency help, you're urged to call the United Way's resource line at 211. You call 211 or you can text 898-211. Folks answering will help you find resources to deal with a crisis caused by the tornado. Life-threatening emergency, of course, you can still call 911. An emergency shelter is operating at 394 Hanger Road in Rome. You would access the shelter through Gate 35. The Red Cross is there with cots, water, snacks, and other immediate needs. This is for anyone who feels their home is not safe.
The county gave us this hangar to use as a shelter for the folks. It's someplace where they can sleep overnight, get out of the elements. We'll feed them, give them refreshments, water, snacks.
I drove around and as we were driving around, we did a tour of all the damages, and people are saying, well, who's that? And we pulled up, and it was just a neighbor that had a vest on, a traffic vest, and he's waving a flashlight and directing traffic. And that's really, that's how Rome is. People are ready to step up and help out any way they can.
The shelter is open 24 hours and it is pet friendly. Let's get you over to the Weather Center. Let's talk about what happened. You observed the damage, Bill. You talked with some folks out there, the National Weather Service, obviously coming to town to investigate. We never thought we'd see something like this, experience something like this.
It's incredible to have something of this magnitude touch down in a city without more loss of life is I can't even explain it. Yeah, it literally is a miracle. So we've got the damage assessment in, at least part of it. An EF2, the important thing is the wind. This is a high-end EF2. To get to an EF3, it's 136. So this was at the very upper limit of the two. That's an incredible wind speed. The full storm survey, again, is expected later this evening with the path, length, and exact timing of this. Interesting note, the last F2 tornado, it was the old system back then, happened in 1990, which also hit Griffiths Air Force Base. An interesting piece of trivia. But again, it's been since 1990 that we had something this strong in Oneida County. The weather is quieting down. We do have a few showers in place. There is a cold front that's going to be moving in from the west, but the ingredients are not there to produce any strong weather like we saw yesterday. Again, it's still very humid outside, dew point of 68, but again, things are going to be cooling off tonight as this front heads to the east. And we're looking at nice weather that will be setting up in its wake. Temperatures this evening in the 70s with a passing shower. A nice stretch of weather ahead. Look at the forecast coming up. Kristen, back to you.
Yesterday was a day you wanted the Storm Tracker 2 app on your phone, especially if you were away from a TV or didn't have power. Scan that QR code with your phone's camera. The app has a lot of weather information, including radar, temperatures, the forecast, but you're also going to get push alerts in an emergency. Oneida County still has more than 11,000 homes and businesses without power, and more than half are in the city of Rome and the surrounding area as well. National Grid has hundreds of crews, outside crews, working to restore power in the city, but we are told it's going to take time. National Grid expects the outages to take a couple of days to fix. They first start with the transmission towers, then the substations, and then to individual streets. First order of business is to address emergency management areas.
We're looking at those critical facilities, hospitals, skilled nursing facilities, places where people are on life support. We're looking at making sure that the infrastructure that keeps the community running during a situation like this is receiving power, and then we keep moving out till we can get individual homes on.
National Grid is warning people to stay away from any downed power lines. One power line pole, by the way, can take as much as 4 to 6 hours to replace, so National Grid is asking for patience. The company does post estimated restoration times on its website. We're going to try to keep you updated on that. Assessing the condition is what's posted right now. National Grid today was giving out dry ice. That distribution event has ended, though. Centro Bus has resumed operations for a couple of routes in Rome, but the Rome Transit Hub is damaged. Do not enter the building. You're asked to wait for buses outside Liberty Street. The service that has resumed includes Bus 2 to Walmart and Bus 5 along Black River Boulevard that includes Rome Hospital. There are detours. Be aware of that. All fares are waived until further notice. Bus 6 to Griffiths is not operating. We do have new information on the Canastota man killed in the storm. Robert Popple was 82 years old. The governor today asked for a moment of silence for him. She says he was outside checking on his antique car when he was killed. Canastota suffered a lot of damage. 3 homes actually collapsed. One of the hardest hit areas is Barlow Street. That's where Popple was. The street has been evacuated.